When Jenna married Ethan, life felt like a movie, full of laughter, midnight talks, and dreams that felt too big to fail. She remembered those early days so clearly, the way he used to look at her like she was the only person in the room, the way they'd get lost driving just to chase sunsets, and how his voice would soften every time he called her his girl. Back then, everything was simple. Love was effortless, days were bright, and her reflection in the mirror felt like someone she knew. But years later, something had shifted. Slowly. Quietly. Without warning. Now, mornings started with alarm clocks instead of kisses. Conversations were about bills, daycare schedules, and whose turn it was to buy groceries. Jenna used to wake up before Ethan just to fix her hair and surprise him with pancakes. Now, she barely had the energy to brush her own hair before rushing their daughter, Lily, off to preschool. It wasn't that Ethan had stopped loving her. It was more like he'd stopped seeing her. He'd glance up from his phone when she spoke, nod absently, then return to emails or work calls. The small things, compliments, long hugs, laughter, had disappeared like the glow that once surrounded their love. And Jenna felt it in every corner of her heart. Every time he came home, set his briefcase down and asked, "What's for dinner?" she swallowed the urge to ask, "Do you even see me anymore?" Every time he scrolled through social media, liking photos of polished women from his office, she felt a quiet ache, not jealousy but a reminder of the woman she used to be. Her life had become predictable. Wake up. Take care of Lily. Clean. Work part-time online. Repeat. There was no space for the Jenna who used to dance barefoot in the kitchen, or wear red lipstick just because she loved how it made her feel powerful. One night, after putting Lily to sleep, she found herself in the bathroom, just standing in front of the mirror. The fluorescent light was harsh, showing every sleepless night, every moment of exhaustion carved into her face. Her hair, once shiny and full of life, now sat in a messy bun. Her favorite dress, the one Ethan once said made her look like a dream, hung untouched in the closet. She traced the reflection of her face with her fingertip and whispered, almost like a confession, "When did I disappear?" The silence that followed hurt more than anything Ethan had ever said. Because it was true, she had disappeared. Not just physically but emotionally, spiritually. She had poured so much of herself into being a mother, a wife, a caretaker, that there was nothing left for her. That night, Jenna couldn't sleep. She scrolled through her old photos, the ones from before Lily, before the house, before the responsibilities. There she was, glowing, confident, eyes full of mischief and life. She remembered how Ethan used to tell her, "You light up every room you walk into." But when was the last time he'd said that? When was the last time she believed it? Tears welled up, but they weren't out of sadness. They were from realization. She didn't need Ethan to see her first. She needed to see herself. The next morning she made a small choice, one that would quietly change everything. Instead of staying in pajamas, she put on that old favorite dress. She styled her hair, added a touch of mascara, and looked at herself not as a tired wife or mother, but as a woman rediscovering her spark. When she walked into the kitchen, Ethan nearly dropped his coffee. "Wow," he said, blinking. "You look amazing." Jenna smiled faintly. "Thanks. Just felt like dressing up." He smiled back, but what surprised her most wasn't his reaction, it was hers. For the first time in years she felt alive. She didn't do it for him. She did it for her. But it didn't stop there. That day she went to a salon for the first time in years. She signed up for a painting class she had always wanted to take. And when the instructor asked what inspired her, she said softly, "I think I'm trying to remember who I was before I forgot myself." At home, Ethan noticed the changes. She smiled more. She played music while cooking again. Lily giggled more, following her mom's energy. And Ethan, he started to see what had been missing all along. The woman he fell in love with wasn't gone. She had just been buried under years of routine and exhaustion. Still, part of him didn't know how to reach her. He felt like he was watching her from a distance, like she was growing, blooming, and he wasn't sure if he was still part of that journey. One evening, Jenna was getting ready to go out with a few friends from her art class. She stood in front of the mirror again, wearing a soft floral dress, her hair falling naturally around her shoulders. Ethan walked in, and for the first time in a long time, he truly looked at her. "You look beautiful," he said quietly, his voice almost breaking. She smiled, met his eyes, and said, "Thanks. It feels good to feel like me again." And that hit him, the realization that she wasn't just glowing up on the outside. Something deep inside her had awakened, a confidence, a joy, a sense of self that no makeup or dress could create. That night, when she left, Ethan sat on the couch, staring at the photo of them from their wedding day. He saw her then, young, full of hope, and realized how much he'd taken for granted. Meanwhile, Jenna laughed with her friends under string lights, her heart light and free. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking about the past or what anyone thought. She was simply herself. The glow-up everyone would soon talk about wasn't about looks. It was about rediscovery. It was about a woman remembering that she didn't need permission to shine. And as Jenna drove home later that night, the city lights reflecting in her eyes, she smiled to herself. The woman she thought was gone had never really left. She had just been waiting for Jenna to remember that she was never lost. She whispered into the night, softly but with certainty, "I'm back." And this time she meant it. 2 months after Jenna decided to find herself again, everything about her life began to feel different. Lighter, warmer, more colorful. The same home that used to feel like a cage now felt alive. She filled it with music, laughter, candles, and sunlight. She started painting again, real, messy, beautiful paintings, and each brushstroke felt like she was breathing for the first time in years. Her days had purpose again. She woke up early not out of obligation but out of joy. She'd slip on a silk robe, make her favorite coffee, and write small notes to herself, reminders of the woman she was becoming. You are not invisible. You are allowed to shine. You don't need permission to be happy. Ethan noticed it all. At first he didn't know what to make of it. She was smiling more, humming while cooking, and leaving the house dressed in ways that reminded him of their dating days. But this wasn't the same Jenna trying to win his attention. This was a Jenna who didn't need it. One morning he came downstairs and found her at the table sketching. The sun was pouring in through the kitchen window, lighting her face like something out of a dream. She looked peaceful. "Hey," he said softly, "you're up early?" She smiled. "Couldn't sleep. My mind's full of ideas." He leaned against the counter, studying her. She looked radiant. The tiredness that used to live behind her eyes was gone. Her glow wasn't from makeup or clothes. It came from somewhere deeper. Ethan tried to joke, "You're turning into some kind of artist superstar on me, huh?" She chuckled, not looking up. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just remembering who I was before life got too heavy." Those words hit him harder than she knew. Because Ethan realized something. While he'd been busy trying to build a life for her, he'd stopped building one with her. He had taken her stability for granted and forgotten that she needed to be seen, not just supported. Later that week, Jenna was invited to showcase her artwork at a local gallery, her first public display. She almost didn't tell Ethan. Not because she wanted to hide it, but because she didn't want him to feel obligated. But when she mentioned it casually over dinner, he looked up, surprised. "You're showing your art? That's amazing, Jen. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" She shrugged, twirling her fork. "I didn't think it was a big deal." "It is to me," he said quietly. "I'm proud of you." That simple line, something she hadn't heard from him in years, made her heart tighten. Not because she needed his validation, but because it reminded her how long she'd craved it. The night of the gallery arrived like a movie scene. The room was softly lit, the air buzzing with music and conversation. Jenna stood among her paintings, abstract pieces bursting with emotion, reds for the anger she once buried, blues for the peace she rediscovered, golds for the strength she never lost. She wore a flowing white dress, her hair down in waves, a soft glow on her cheeks. She looked breathtaking, but it wasn't the dress or makeup. It was the confidence radiating from within. When Ethan walked in, he froze. For a moment he didn't recognize her, not because she looked different but because she looked free. She turned, saw him, and smiled, the same smile that once made his heart race when they were young. "Wow," he whispered, stepping closer. "You look unbelievable." "Thank you," she said gently. He walked through the gallery, taking in her paintings, his expression shifting with every canvas. He saw her pain, her love, her loss, her story. It was all there, wordless yet loud. When he stopped in front of one piece, a silhouette of a woman standing alone in a storm with light blooming from her chest, he felt his throat tighten. "This one," he said quietly. "What's it called?" She looked at the painting, her eyes soft. "It's called Becoming." He nodded, understanding more than she said. That was her, the woman he'd almost lost without even realizing it. As the evening went on, people congratulated Jenna, complimented her work, and asked about her inspiration. She laughed, told stories, felt seen again. Ethan stood nearby, watching her in awe. It wasn't jealousy or regret that filled him, it was admiration. He was falling in love with her all over again, but this time with the woman she had become on her own terms. On the drive home, the silence was soft, thoughtful. The city lights flickered across her face. Ethan finally said, I didn't know you still had all that inside you. Jenna looked out the window, smiling faintly. I think I always did. I just forgot. Maybe we both did. He reached over, resting his hand on hers. I see you now. Really see you. And I'm sorry it took me so long. Her eyes filled with quiet warmth. It's okay, she whispered. I just needed to see me first. When they got home, Ethan followed her inside, still in awe of her energy. She placed her heels by the door, kicked them off, and started humming, the same tune she used to sing years ago while cooking. He wrapped his arms around her from behind and rested his chin on her shoulder. I missed this, he murmured. She turned, smiled softly, and said, Then don't miss it. Be part of it. Those words changed something deep between them. From that night on, Ethan made an effort to show up, not just physically but emotionally. He took her to brunch, asked about her art, watched her paint, and even joined her for long walks by the lake. They talked again, about dreams, fears, the things that once bonded them. Jenna didn't go back to who she used to be, she became something more. She was no longer just Ethan's wife or Lily's mom. She was herself, whole, strong, radiant. Months later, as they celebrated her second art exhibit, Ethan stood beside her, watching her greet guests. A journalist asked him, What's it like being married to such a talented woman? He smiled, eyes fixed on her. It's like watching the sun rise every day. You can't believe you get to witness something that beautiful. That night, after everyone left, Jenna looked at him across the empty gallery and whispered, You know this glow-up everyone talks about, it wasn't for you. He nodded. I know. She smiled, stepping closer. But I'm glad you finally see it. He brushed her cheek gently. How could I not? You found your light, and it lit up both of us. As they stood there, surrounded by her art, by her story, Ethan realized the truth. The woman who once disappeared had never been gone. She was just waiting for the world and for him to catch up to the light she carried inside all along. And Jenna? She didn't just glow up, she came alive.